Hi scholars, we're ready to read chapter 5, which is all about amphibians. Say that word, amphibians. Greetings once again from your pal and animal expert, Rattenborough. Are you ready to learn about another group of animals within the animal kingdom? The group we are going to talk about today is really interesting. They live both in water and on land. This group of animals is called amphibians. The word amphibian comes from Latin meaning both sides of life. Amphibians are classified into three more specific groups. Frogs and toads are the largest group. Salamanders and newts make up another. Animals in the third group do not have legs, so they look more like large snakes. We don't know as much about this group of amphibians because they live mostly underground. Amphibians can live both in water and on land. So that caption is showing us some of those examples they just gave us. These look like newts and salamanders. Over here we've got toads and frogs. And this must be that group of animals that lives underground that we don't know very much about. Interesting. All right, go ahead and get your glossary ready. We're going to add just a few words for this chapter. Got my paper. I've got my pen. I'm ready to write down this new word. A lot of sounds and letters in this word. Amphibian. Let's see. That A sound. Fib, that short I sound. En. So that I is making a long E sound, and the A is making a short A sound. So if you've underlined your vowels, you should have something that looks like this. We've got 4 syllables in the word amphibian. All right, now I'm going to record the definition of amphibian. An animal that can live on land and in water. And I think I'll just draw a little frog. I'll myself remember. There's my little cartoon frog. For amphibian. If you have more than one amphibian, it becomes amphibians with that suffix s at the end to make it plural. So like hibernate, Hibernate. So I see I is a vowel, E is a vowel, A is a vowel, E is a vowel. The E on the end does not make a sound. It makes the A before it make the long A sound. Hibernate. And you could have heard this word before. When you hibernate, it means to spend a season resting or sleeping. So a season, that means like spring, summer, fall, or winter. You would sleep the whole time if you were an animal that hibernates. If you're hibernating, that means right now in the present tense. So we're spending a whole season resting or sleeping. That ing suffix shows it's in the present tense. It's happening now. Our next word is survive. U is controlled by the R. Survive. That I is controlled by the E in the end. That makes a long vowel sound. 2 vowel sounds, 2 syllables. And survive means to continue, to live. If you've already survived, we could say that you survived with ED in the past. This gives us an example with an S on the end. And then this next word is tadpole. T-A-D-P-O-L-E. A is a vowel, O is a vowel, E is a vowel on the end, controlling that O. Tadpole. I hear a long O sound and a short A sound. A tadpole is the early form of a frog or a toad that has gills. Remember that word from our last chapter, and a tail, but no legs. More than one tadpole becomes tadpoles with a suffix x on the end. All right, and I've forgotten to draw some pictures, so let me go back really quickly. Here's my little tadpole. He has some gills and an eye and a little tail. Kind of like, there's my grown-up frog, and here's my baby tadpole. In between for survive means to continue to live. I'm gonna draw a little person running. They're surviving and they're living. And then for hibernate, I'm going to draw, I already from my background knowledge know that bears will hibernate. So I'm gonna draw a little bear sketch. And I'm going to show with those Z's, that's like he's sound if he's snoring. He's sleeping all season long. All right, our next word is fragile. Fragile. So I see a G with an I after it, but because that I is controlled by the E, it does not become a soft J sound. It stays a hard G that says G. So we've got that sound, Joel. Some people, I think, would pronounce this word fragile, and that's also correct. With my Texas accent, I say fragile. So that way, if you hear someone say it either way, both can be correct. Fragile means easily harmed. When I used to teach art, I think some of you guys made pinch pots and coil pots with me, and I would say they're very fragile. That means they break easily. They can be easily harmed if something is fragile. I wonder what will be fragile in this chapter. All right, and this word is absorb. A-B-S-O-R-B, absorb. Has two vowel sounds, that A and O. Absorb means to take in or soak up. So if something is absorbent, it's able to take in things and soak them up. Like if you have an absorbent paper towel, it can help you clean up a spill. All right, and we're ready to start our reading. You can go ahead and put down your glossary, keep it next to you in case you find a word that you're not sure of the meaning, and we can pause the video so that you can read and refresh yourself. Right, to understand the life cycle of an amphibian, let's take a closer look at an American toad. Like all amphibians, toads are cold-blooded. An amphibian's body temperature changes as the outdoor temperature changes. Some amphibians hibernate during the winter. Some toads dig deep underground. Other amphibians, like frogs, bury themselves in mud at the bottom of a pond. Hibernating amphibians can survive for months. They do not eat or move, using only the fat stored in their body to stay alive. Frogs and toads and all amphibians are also vertebrates. That was a lot of new information about amphibians. This toad may be preparing to hibernate for the winter. So it looks like he's dug under the ground, nice and fat. He has like a lot of stored fat in his body so that he can survive on that without eating during the hibernation period. A toad's life cycle begins as one of thousands of soft, slimy eggs. The mother lays her eggs close to shore in a pond, lake, or calm spot in a river or stream. But most of these eggs will never hatch. Instead, they will be eaten by fish or other animals. If the water moves the eggs away from the shore and into direct sunlight, the eggs will dry out and die. Out of the thousands of eggs laid, a few hundred toad eggs manage to hatch into tadpoles. A tadpole is very fragile. Its young body is made up mainly of a mouth, a tail, and gills. At this stage, tadpoles are aquatic. Like fish, they use gills to breathe underwater. All right, so here's our life cycle, starting out with eggs laid by the adult amphibian that turn into tadpoles, that turn into young amphibians. So it's starting to look a little bit more like a frog here. It's growing some legs. And then the adult amphibian, which in later will lay more eggs and the cycle will continue. The life cycle of a frog or toad was shown in this diagram. After a while, tadpoles begin swimming around and eating tiny aquatic plants. Remember, aquatic means it's in the water. Tadpoles tend to stay together in schools like fish. However, this makes it more likely that other animals will be able to catch and eat them. Most tadpoles end up as fish snacks. If a tadpole survives for a month, skin will begin to grow over its gills. After about 6 to 9 weeks, the tadpole also starts to grow little legs. As its body changes, the young frog or toad starts to look less like an aquatic animal and more like a land animal. After a few months, a toad will make its way out of the water to the land. At this stage, it may still have a tail, but that won't last long. By this time, its gills have become lungs. That means the toad now breathes oxygen from the air instead of oxygen from the water, like fish. Soon, it will be a full-grown adult toad living and hopping around on land. Adult amphibians are carnivores, eating insects, small reptiles, and even mice. So here at the bottom, our caption says, for this photograph, on the bottom, a young amphibian leaving the pond for land. So I can see it still has a tail, but it's also got some legs to walk or crawl or hop with. And then up here at the top, we see again the life cycle of a frog or toad. Adult toads are very good swimmers and can even swim underwater, but they cannot use their lungs to breathe underwater. Instead, their thin, moist skin absorbs oxygen from the water. Amphibians are a very interesting animal group. Amphibians are the only type of animal that have both gills and lungs. As adults, they live on land, but lay eggs in the water. The Latin meaning of the word amphibian makes perfect sense. Do you remember what that word amphibian means? We can go back here to check for evidence at the beginning. Let me scan and see. So if I need to find this answer, it's right here in this sentence. You can read it to yourself. All right, so if I have a question about that, now that I've found my evidence on the first page of the chapter, I could write it into my answers. So this is a little bit different than what we've done before. You can draw this out on a piece of paper and fill in the blanks here in the chart below. So up at the top, we're starting with amphibians, and then each of these lines will go to another box to tell different facts about amphibians. And before you answer and say warm-blooded or cold-blooded, make sure you go back to the text so that you can prove your answer. All right, I'll see you next time.